Welcome everybody to StopWaste School Stakeholder Network Community Climate Solution Sessions, Wednesday, October 25th, 2021. And today we are so excited. You're really kicking off our year, and we wanted to create space for us to get together and really come up with solutions to all the things that are happening at our schools, all the initiatives, and collectively figure out how to do this. So essentially, solution sessions are spaces where we share hopes and dreams, needs and wants, to reimagine our schools for our communities. We also have space to share stories, solution-based action projects from our community to authentically meet the needs to care for ourselves, our family, and our community and Earth. And lastly, to create dialogue, make space to explicitly and innovatively create solutions to have a caring and climate resilient world for all. And really what we're trying to go for is sharing, learning, collaborating, amplifying our youth voices, which really has, there's no better time to have this critical voice of youth to figure this out. But with us, we can't put this on the youth, that we are working generationally to take action. So our agenda is pretty simple. We're going to do land acknowledgement, community agreements. Then we're going to introduce our fine, fantastic, incredible Blossom group today. And then we're going to have Patrick Journey from Community Climate Solutions talk about the challenge, and you'll learn more about how his work and the youth work are really supporting many things. I'm just gonna let him talk about his story. And then next we'll have Moira Chapman, who's really gonna kind of tell her story about the story of youth engagement and family impact to climate change using the challenge platform. And then we're just gonna have a dialogue, what's resonating, reactions, share stories, and we'll end with a wrap up and what we can do together as a community for next steps.
Cool. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ariel Conway. I'm one of the school's coordinators with StopWaste, and I'll just be sharing with you all some reminders. Go ahead and put your mic on mute when it's not your turn to speak, just so we can hear everyone. Go ahead and include your pronouns in your Zoom name. You can go ahead and rename yourself. If you'd like to put the Zoom view on speaker view to watch our presenters and our speakers. And we are recording, so feel free to turn your video off if you don't want to be recorded. And if you do need any support, we're a pretty small group today, so just go ahead and throw that in the chat, and one of us will see that. And our community agreements, some folks who've been with us for a little bit might recognize these. Our agreements today are respect, mutual respect, to honor all voices, celebrate diversity, and practice self-care, to reflect, listen, journal, or jot some notes down and share. Apply what you're hearing and learning to make your own action plan. Reflect on your energy as you participate and reflect on why you may have that energy. We're also going to represent yourself. Your voice matters, so be brave and create a brave space for others. Share your knowledge and exercise cultural pride. And lastly, you have the right to pass. So be an active observer, and we encourage everyone to try on our activities, but if you choose not to share, know that you do have.
Thank you, Ariel.
Hello, everybody. My name is Christian Aguilar. I go by he, they, el pronouns. I'm also part of the school's team. So this is the land acknowledgement that I'll be sharing today. And just thinking of, as we reimagine our future together, we acknowledge the wisdom, knowledge, and resilience of Indigenous people, healing and thriving from the attempted genocide and colonization of these lands. And to do this, we begin our event with a land acknowledgement. And we're acknowledging that we reside on Ohlone land, and in reimagining our world together, that we also are allies to restoring their rightful place. If you haven't already, please introduce yourself in the chat. You can include your pronouns. And if you know or were able to research the native land you live on, please do your own acknowledgement in the chat. I'll drop a resource in the chat that you could click on as well.
So we're actually going to go ahead and introduce ourselves to our group, and I'll model, and you could also put it in the chat as well. So I didn't introduce myself. How rude. My name is Angelina Vergara. I'm the StopWaste Schools Program Manager. I've been an environmental educator and arts educator for over 25 plus years. As a StopWaste Schools Program Manager, I'm elated to be here today to hear from everybody. Like, how do we do this? How do we address our climate crisis and get to that thriving, resilient, beautiful world that we all want for all? So my pronouns are she and hers, and I'm going to pass to Ariel. Could you do a proper introduction? Oh, and I'm on Lonely Land. I'm sorry.
Sure thing. Good afternoon again, everybody. My name is Ariel Conway with StopWaste. I'm one of the schools coordinators, primarily focused on supporting our in-classroom for our Student Action Project program, as well as our school-wide initiatives like the Stop Food Waste Challenges. My pronouns are she, her. I am currently living on Ohlone Chichenyo land out here in Alameda. And I'm looking forward to today because I'm on the platform, the Climate Challenge platform, and I love the actions that are on there as things that I can do, because it's really hard to see when this problem seems way bigger than me. Here's some actions you can take. So looking forward to learn more and learn more from all of you and some of your ideas you have about using this tool. And I shall pass to Christian.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to just hearing the stories of how people have used this. I got to check out a quick introduction of how it's being used in Fremont and other places as well. And so I'm just really interested in that perspective of people using this platform.
We're going to continue with the StopWaste staff, but Janine, introduce yourself any way you'd like.
Good afternoon. As Ariel said, we're on Chichenyo land, and our introduction right now includes a chicken, because my daughter just ran in to ask me something, and so with that, what am I hoping to get out? I am really excited to hear more what you have been doing and to be inspired by you. And yeah, I mean, I was inspired by you when we were working together, and so many years of experience. And I mean, yeah, yes. So yes, that's it. And what do I do at StopWaste? Right now, I'm mostly working in communications on our resource tool, and really love connecting people to how to do whatever it is they need to do in terms of sustainability and keep the circularity going, which is always challenging. Yeah.
And we're going to go with StopWaste Schools Associate Alumni, but also playing another incredible role this year, Ben.
Hi, my name's Ben. I'm he, him pronouns. Anytime I talk climate, I like to be outside. So sorry if you can't see my eyes via the hat, because I got the best spot right now. I am on unceded Ohlone land, and I work for Center for Environmental Health. I'm the food programs coordinator, but also a 4-year StopWaste alum, and I love these folks. They just bring some really good energy to the table. I am very excited because climate solutions makes the climate change problem feel so much better to me when we're just talking about the plethora, just the huge amount of solutions out there, and seeing how other folks can fit in with their different expertise and diversity to make that kind of more reality. I got super energized this morning because I got an email from folks in San Mateo County from the high school folks called Bay Cats. And they're just like, we want to move to reusables, and we hear you're the guy to talk to. And I was like, oh my God. So that's super exciting for me, and it gives me lots of energy. And I am going to toss to Cheyenne, if that's okay.
Hi, I'm Cheyenne. I use she, her pronouns. I'm in San Leandro, so Ohlone land. I'm an intern with San Leandro 2050 right now. But in high school, I worked with StopWaste and Angelina, so I'm just excited to work with her again. I'll pass it to Patrick?
I just want to, if you don't know who Cheyenne is, she really led for over a decade, we tried to get composting at the high school, and it was Cheyenne's effort and her team, her eco club team at the high school that made that happen. And number two, she shared the vision of we need to have a school garden. And Cheyenne, yeah, you'll have to come out because it's happening. We're going to have a science deck garden lab, and we're really hoping to do some fun stuff with compost procurement and food systems, and Fona, of course, was huge for that. So anyway, Cheyenne, and she'll also be presenting at tomorrow's solution session with Literati, which is a good segue to Fona.
Hi, my name is Fona. I'm currently a student at UC Berkeley, and I go by she/her pronouns. I'm currently reside on a lonely land here in Berkeley, and I previously worked with StopWaste in the past in like high school with Eco Club and stuff, and more recently with the Literati cleanup, Creekside cleanup we did a few weeks ago.
And Fona also was part of our Stop Waste Ambassador Program virtual pilot, where last fall we worked with Friends of San Leandro Creek, we worked with Broward Dellum Sustainability Institute, we worked with San Leandro Unified School District, as well as the community and City of San Leandro. And Fona was part of the team that did virtual design charrettes. That Moira Chapman actually used to lead these design charrettes for schoolyards at Melrose Leadership Academy, which is how I learned how to do them. And basically, Fona, yeah, Moira trained me, and then we did that virtually with 50 participants in the community. It was incredible. So it's a nice segue to Moira.
How fun. That's so awesome. So my name is Moira, and as I put in the renaming, you don't say the I, so it's just Moira. And I am a she, her as well. I'm on Ohlone land in Piedmont. And I worked for StopWaste. I'm currently working with Piedmont Connect, which is a sustainability organization in Piedmont, but I worked for StopWaste for a couple of years, working on schoolyard sustainability and some other things, registering schools, gardens as bay friendly. And prior to that, I also worked for the County Office of Ed for a lot of years, working with teachers on a project called the Cesar Chavez 4 Hours project. And that was funded by StopWaste. And prior to that, why I know Angelina is we both worked together at the former East Conservation Corps, now Civic Corps, working with all ages of youth, doing a lot of projects funded by the Department of Conservation. And I have to just say, I come at this because I was turned on in high school, and I was really, really lucky, and I got to be part of a project. It was called environmental education, and it was your senior year. If you had done all your credits, you got to participate in this thing. And this is a long time ago. I'm old. And so we were looking at nuclear power versus solar power. Which one should California use? And this is post early energy crisis. So that tuned me in. At the same time, I also discovered the Peace Corps. And so I went to UC Santa Cruz, studied agricultural ecology, and went into the Peace Corps as an agroforester. And that sort of has been my path in life, honestly. That kind of just is where I've gone. And interestingly, when I was at UC Santa Cruz, back when I was introduced to climate change, and no one was talking about it back then. So it's been really interesting for me to see how things have changed over the years. And I am here today because with Piedmont Connect, we have used we call it the Piedmont Climate Challenge, but we've used CCS's platform. And so I'm going to talk about how we've used it in Piedmont. Okay.
And our next speaker will also introduce himself, Patrick.
Yes, I think that leaves me. Hi, everyone. Let me change. When it's speaker view, you're just talking to yourself. So I am Patrick. I work for a local nonprofit in the Bay Area called Community Climate Solutions. I go by he, him pronouns, and I'm actually on Shoshone land. So I currently live in Salt Lake City. I partner with cities and counties all across the country. So I lived in Berkeley for 4 years, recently moved out of there. So very familiar with the Ohlone land and the communities you all live in. Go Bears. But now I'm out in Salt Lake on Shoshone land. So a little bit about community climate. We partner with mostly cities and counties to help them engage their residents to effectively work together and reduce carbon emissions. A lot of cities, like all the ones that you're in, have something called a climate action plan or a sustainability plan, where they have really exciting and ambitious goals, oftentimes in line with like the Paris Accord, reducing emissions 100% by 2050. But the problem is cities have a limited ability to do that. They can't tell you not to drive cars. They can't tell you to only drive electric cars. They don't really have the ability to enact sweeping legislation like our state or our country can. And so they really need residents to be able to, work together with our city leaders and help reduce emissions. So that's where we come in, is we both have a set of online tools and resources, as well as some really exciting programs to help communities have a framework to work together. And a little more about myself. I was listening to Moira and I was just thinking, wow, I'm so jealous that you had that in high school. Where I went to school, there was no recycling, no composting. I learned about climate change 0 times. There was no AP environmental science class. And that wasn't that long ago. So, I went to school in Minnesota. It's definitely slightly different than California in terms of, what the state's doing. So I'm just so grateful for StopWaste and all of the school advocates and the programs you're implementing to help people really connect a lot of the dots at an early age, because I had to do that at a much later age. And a lot of people who I went to school with never had that exposure to be able to, connect those dots and really understand the issues as they are. So I don't know, should I dive in or, okay, cool. So just kind of big picture, lay of the land. I think we all are probably very passionate, maybe highly concerned about climate change. And an exciting thing is you are definitely not alone. I think, this has definitely changed a lot in the last 5-10 years. But in 2020, 70% of Americans felt a personal responsibility to act on the climate crisis. So people really care, people are aware, and people want to do something. And the thing that almost everyone lacks is a framework to actually engage. So like, okay, I care. What do I do? How do I do it? Where can I find information? And so, in the era of the platform, we built an online tool to help people navigate those questions and provide answers. And one other thing, kind of keeping big picture, is Stanford released this really interesting study thinking about the major barriers to taking sustainable action. And they identified 4: accessibility, affordability, comfort, and competence. So those are the major common barriers to taking sustainable action. You feel like it's not accessible to you, or it isn't. There's perceived lack of affordability, or it's not affordable, or you're just not comfortable with the idea of composting. You've never done it, you've never seen it happen, you don't know how to do it, or you don't feel competent in, biking around your neighborhood. You've never done that before. Maybe there aren't good bike lanes that make it accessible for you, right? So those are like the common barriers. And so we built the platform trying to help people remove those barriers at every step of the way. We gamified sustainability. So points are accredited for your impact, the change that you're making. So points are a pound of carbon or 10 gallons of water. And then you can rack up points like a game and compete against other teams or community members or your neighbors. But as we know, an online resource is only as effective as it's being utilized. And so after creating a really robust online tool, we set out to develop a lot of programs. And so I have an organizing background. I know nothing about tech. I don't know how any of it works. I've never taken a programming class, but I'm an organizer. So I've worked on environmental and public health and civic engagement campaigns in California. And so we've built out a lot of programs that help people learn how to work together. And I think just a key thing for all of you who have done so much is there's like a big difference between an informational campaign and an engagement campaign. So let's say you want people in your community to, recycle. if you just put up a billboard and put pamphlets at their door, what the research has found is that that's not going to help people recycle. That's an informational campaign saying, hey, this is something you should do. What we have found to be really effective is providing people the space to be able to listen and learn and hold each other accountable. So all of you are community leaders, whether that's, on your block or with your family or with a group of your friends, or more formally, if you're a part of an organization like, a faith community or a service group or a student club, or, a part of a class, you're a leader in that. And you have the ability to mobilize the people in your network and help them have space to listen and learn and share and take action together. So that's kind of what I'm here for, is helping educators implement this in their classroom, or student leaders work with their clubs and their overall student community, or neighborhood leaders work with their neighbors. I'm really excited for Moira to share a little bit about the work that she's done in Piedmont. But I guess before that, does anyone have questions about anything I talked about, or community climate? Or I didn't want to get too into detail and like screen share a bunch of our stuff, because it's more of just a chat and conversation.
Yeah, I just want to note we will be doing a follow-up email as well. It's on our website. So we'll make sure that folks who are viewing today know how to access.
Yeah, and I can throw at least the link in for, if people want to play around with that. That was one idea. If we wanted to start our own team challenge as members of this solutions, we could walk through signing up and joining the StopWaste community today. And maybe thinking about a theme like, we're in a drought, we can maybe decide to take a water action before next month. That's just an idea.
I think walking us through would be awesome. So maybe after Moira and a little bit of discussion, that'd be great. I like that. And also, Patrick, you're talking also to Fona and Cheyenne actually were very active with SL 2050 to look at the language. And they basically advocated at the City of San Leandro Climate Action Plan 2.0 board meeting, where they were going to see if they basically critiqued that the Climate Action Plan was weak in language. They do it really way better than me. But I just wanted to say that we have folks on the call that have done this work. Youth have done this work on advocating for climate. Yeah.
That is so important. So just to confirm, so Maura's gonna figure this out and we can keep on talking solutions on my side. Okay, cool. So two other things kind of related to what we could do now, but also just that I kind of forgot to mention. So what you all are doing, Cheyenne and Fona, is like the most important thing, which is advocating for our leaders, for the systems we're a part of, to move forward on climate. And so that needs to happen, and that needs to happen everywhere and all the time, and more people need to be doing that. But the problem is it's not happening fast enough. There's enough powerful special interests and enough lack of civic engagement that we are not seeing the policy that we need to be seeing at a fast enough rate. So while we're pushing for that policy, there's also so much we can do in our own communities to get people more engaged in sustainability in general. And so we oftentimes kind of talk about our platform as like a gateway drug to more meaningful civic engagement, right? Before you can start caring about your city not recycling properly, you have to start recycling yourself and experiencing the fact that you can't recycle some things that you should be able to. Or, before you can really care about having more trees in your whole neighborhood, you have to start thinking about why this is important to you too. So it oftentimes starts with personal action, and that helps people, start to see these systems and then engage more broadly. And we're also adding in two categories, just kind of updates for everyone here, around emergency preparedness and resilience. So less carbon focused, but very important as we continue to enter the climate crisis, is preparing our own households and communities for a resilient future. And that includes things like divesting from big banks and investing in local credit unions, as well as getting water for your house in case there's an earthquake and the water line shuts down. So that's one thing that we're building onto the site that I think will be really exciting for a lot of educators and people just in general. And then we're also building out a project-based action category. This is more long-term. The emergency one will be live this fall. But we want to have actions or like events basically that communities can host together. So for example, it could be an Acorns to Oak event where you come together and you create the seed balls and then you disperse them in an area that just got burned or had been deforested. Or building home energy kits where you put together LEDs and power strips and weather strips and low flow shower heads, and then provide those for low income community members in your area. So that goes a little bit beyond household action, but will still be around, you know, creating a more sustainable and resilient broad community and having something fun to do together while you do that. So those are like two separate updates. But what we mostly have right now is running really fun challenges with communities to drive personal action at a community scale. And so I can share my screen. There are three like main parts of the platform. So just for those who aren't familiar, really quick, you can create your profile where you can understand your household carbon footprint. This is optional, but it's super insightful because it allows you to see, you know, what are the main contributors to footprint, where are the best places you can take action. And it also just helps you see where you are compared to your neighbors, like, oh, am I ahead? Am I right where I should be? Do I have some extra work to do? As well as actually track your progress as you go. So when you take new actions, we'll be able to tell you how many pounds of CO2 or gallons of water you're reducing from your starting point. And then there's over 80 and counting sustainable actions that we can learn about and take together. And then it's really fun to create space to have people, you know, engage and listen and learn. So I'm curious if you all want to think about a theme, what we could dive into today to maybe each think about one action that we can start doing coming out of this meeting and share and check in about when we come to the second meeting. Does anyone have an idea for a sustainability theme? And I'm loading the actions right now. So oftentimes groups will pick a category to work on together.
I wonder if we have, you know I'm a renter. I saw there was like a renter option there. We might have some folks in dorms. Is there anything around that type, like looking at actions on that sort of scale?
Yeah, the fun thing is with each theme, there's almost always a lot of actions that people can do who are renters, or if you don't have a lot of money to drop. I'd say the one that's a little more exclusive is the clean energy home. This includes, you know, changing your home to be powered by clean electricity. And some of that requires like buying things like a heat pump water heater. So that'd be one I would say we shouldn't pick for that sake. But, you know, especially like being energy smart, actually all of them other than that one are very accessible for, you know, if you don't have a lot of time, or if you don't have a lot of, you know, money to drop, or if you're a renter.
I really like the be energy smart, anything that everyone could participate, because that's definitely a barrier, and we want to make sure that we don't exclude everybody. So that would be great.
Cool. Yeah,
Maybe be energy smart.
that sounds great to me. Well, so what do you say we walk through actually signing up on the account, and everyone can take a minute to do that, and then we can join the StopWaste community group. So I already put this in the link. So if you want to follow along and, you know, put your own up, we can kind of make the account together, and we can all get onto the community group so we can be a part of the same page. I will do mine in Berkeley so we can all see how it works. So you can put in whatever city and state you're a part of, and that'll take you to your local landing page. The local landing page, you can see groups in your area that are taking action, and we have the actual data for your area. So the cost of water may be different in Piedmont versus in Albany versus in San Leandro, and we have all that localized information. So you can put in whatever email you want to be able to access. So I'll just put in, you know, patrickjourney@stopwaste.com, and then you know, any sort of password. You will need to sign in again, so make sure it's something that you are familiar with, and you're like, make a note somewhere. And then for your household name, this is like your username. This is what everyone else will see. So you could just say Patrick's home. You could also put, you know, like if you live on Edith Lane, you could put like the Edith household. So whatever works for you. And then you put in your first and your last name. This information is not shared, and you select your city. So I live in Berkeley. And then there's just oftentimes, you know, on most sites, there's these robot things to make sure that we don't have hackers. So with just putting in that basic info, then you can create a new account. So we have everyone go and quick do that and post in the chat when you're done. Sounds good. Well, so I can start for the next thing. So it's always fun to be a part of a community, and StopWaste already has a community page. So there's a really easy way to join it. So just to kind of orient to the site first, here's where you can complete that energy profile. Here's a way to choose actions to take. And then if you wanted to invite a different community, like a club you're a part of or your neighbors, you could always do that as well. But here on the left side, you have your home, the team level, and then the community group level. So it slowly scales up. And then you could always see things happening at the regional level too on this tab. But so if you go to My Community Group on this left side, you have the ability to join any sort of community. So it's all alphabetical. So I'm guessing StopWaste is at the end. That one I think is the school one. So if you go to the third tab, you'll see one called StopWaste Community with 60 different participants already a part of it. So if you just click this button, Join Community, you'll become a part of the StopWaste Community Group. And here you can see, different members that are a part, the messaging here. You can also see the total actions. So it looks like right now, not that many of the members have taken action, but we can help change that as well. There's 14 people or 14 actions that have been taken. And then you can see an aggregate. So it looks like 11 people here have taken the action to choose green electricity, which is exciting. That's a great thing to do. So I'll wait again just a minute so people can go and find that StopWaste community group if you haven't joined that yet. By going to My Community Group on the left side, and then it's alphabetical. So if you go to the third tab, you can join the StopWaste community. So I don't want to cut into Moira's time. So if we do have to stop now, we could always just make a commitment to take one new action in this by the next solution session. And a great way to determine what action is best for you is just to peruse the different actions. You can always click into them and learn a little bit more. So this is more of a winter action, but ways to be heat-wise, you can read like how the action works, ways to complete it. And then when you're ready, you can say, get started, say it's a new action, set your timeline, and then you'll have committed to the action. You'll have said, I'm planning on doing this. And then once you've actually completed the action, let's say you start closing your blinds every day, then you can mark it as complete and the impact will add to the StopWaste community. But that's okay because there's a link that can just automatically connect you. So let me copy this in. So now if you click on this link, it'll just automatically add you to the StopWaste community group. So I'm posting that right now.
Yeah, and because San Leandro did have a challenge, and we're hoping to kind of bring it back to life this year.
Oh, it says, oh, yep. So did that link work for you, Cheyenne?
Yeah, it's just asking me to sign in again.
Okay, sounds good. So I feel like I should pause now because I know we want to make sure Moira has time. Okay. Do you want me to share?
Patrick, that was awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to share a couple things about our partnership with Community Climate Solutions. And we started in the fall of 2019. We worked with Lisa Altieri, and Lisa helped us basically come up with a plan for recruitment, launching the whole thing. And the group that I work with, Piedmont Connect, was asked by the city to help launch this because at the time we did not have a sustainability manager. We now do. We had a Civic Spark fellow, but it was too much for that person to just take this all on. So we launched it we have an annual harvest festival. And what we did was we just, as a group, went around and targeted people at that festival, asked them if they wanted to join, had clipboard, I mean, really did the one-on-one. That worked pretty well to sign people up in terms of interest. But as you could, tell from what you just did, each individual has to go and sign themselves up. So from there, we knew that we really had to do some actual one-on-one recruitment with people beyond that. So what we did was I organized students on the local, our local high school is Piedmont High, and then there's also a alternative school called Millennium High, and they both have an active green club. And so with that green club, the leaders of the Green Club helped me organize the students. And we had one actual day that we went out and canvassed. And prior to that, I should let you know, we did some education, because a lot of the students take AP Environmental Science, but not all of them. And most students have some climate change education in their science class at some point, but we don't know, we didn't know what that meant. So we wanted to make sure that they were starting with the same level of knowledge. So the students and I, and if you want to just roll through, this is a slideshow that we created, and actually, yeah. So if you just want to roll down. Some of this is taken off of the climate action plan for our city. So we, that was created, it was just updated, actually, not just updated, but probably 4 years ago it was updated. So some of the numbers like this is more general, but then as you move on, this is still more general, but now you start to get to metrics that are specific to Piedmont. And you can see below, there's a reference to our CAP, our climate action plan. So we used this slideshow. We tailored it a little bit because this was created by a Connect member for all kinds of recruitment. We tailored this for the kids, for the students. And what I did is I had the students lead, they led off, and then I sort of continued with it. We did a pretty broad sweep for the club because this is, we had an hour max, and this is during their lunch hour. So we did this over a couple different sessions, got them all prepared, and then we went out. And why don't you go on to scroll through this for a minute. I think it was pretty well done, this slideshow, because it really shows people where we were in terms of greenhouse gases and what our goal was, and how many households. We surpassed our household goal. We got up to 300. We didn't meet our greenhouse gas goal. So we got to about 50% of that. So to 2,500 instead of 5,000 pounds. And it proved to be pretty challenging, actually, to get people. We were able to recruit people, but the trick was getting them to continue to engage in activities. And so you can scroll all the way through that. And here was a timeline. Well, that's okay. Well, the timeline was essentially September to April. And by the suggestion of Lisa, we used a contest approach. So there was a contest to see which neighborhood group or community group would come up with the most actions and reduce the most greenhouse gases, basically, and CO2 in this case. And then we had a recognition ceremony. Well, the unfortunate part is the recognition ceremony fell right after the pandemic began. So we did do something, but it was not at all what we were supposed to do or what we had planned to do, which was a large, it was called Tasting a Sustainable Future, based on a previous Earth Day event that we had done that was really successful, where we had, a lot of vegan chefs and induction cooktops and all kinds of great, cool stuff. Anyway, so that was our timeline. Moving on, let's look at what else we have there slides wise. We had a banner put up over the city just to sort of raise awareness. This doesn't look too good, so let's move on from the slide.
I love the messaging though of like losing pounds, but it's carbon.
Oh yeah.
I just like small city, big goal, because it's true. You all are small, but
yeah,
ambitious things in a small community.
Yeah, I'm sorry you can't see that better. That was the only reason because one of the links that didn't come up as well is we created cards. And so when the students and I went out, I asked, we have this great woman who's in our organization who also actually works for EDF, and she's their communications person. So she came up with this great graphic using these graphics, but if you take off the large print, and we made them into postcards, one, each had a side. And so what the students and I did is they did this, but they went from home to home. They dropped off a postcard. They talked to people when they could. And as I said, we did our best to give them as much information as we could. We had a script that they could jump off of, but had the basics on it. And then of course, refer to us if they had any questions. Another component of this, so I was going to show you a little bit about I'll show you after a little bit more about what we did with youth, but we had a design that basically Lisa had suggested that was creating ambassadors throughout our town. So there were ambassadors for the parent clubs, ambassadors for the scouts, ambassadors for the sports teams, you name it. We tried to identify ambassadors. That approach, I have to say, in all honesty, didn't work as well as we had thought. It was basically hard to engage those folks to go out and then recruit. And then the other part of the approach was we had a map of the city and we created color-coded neighborhoods. We already had neighborhoods, but we really defined them. And that was how the students and I recruited. We went neighborhood by neighborhood. And I tried to match them with their neighborhood so that they would be able to go to people maybe they knew on their street. And that seemed to work really well. I mean, in all honesty, I think that got us up to our 300. And that was really a big part of it. Keep going. I can't remember what other slides. Yeah, these are student recruiters. And then this was the event from the year before. So we used pictures. Can you move on to the next link, the next doc? It's actually a Google Doc. Yeah. So this looks pretty small, but if you can read this, this has various different sheets. And this particular sheet is the recruitment tracking sheet. So this is what the students used when we went out. And it was just, very, very basic. They put the street name, the house number, who they were, who was recruiting, and what their affiliation was. Because I forgot to say that we also had our service club involved. We had scouts doing some. So we wanted to make sure that we knew what they came from. And then one other thing I should add in there is that I also, myself and the Civic Spark Fellow, came up with an arrangement with our AP Environmental Science teacher. And basically we split up education for the APES class for this teacher essentially on climate literacy. And so the fellow did half of it and then I did the second half. So he sort of did the introductory and what the problem is, how we got there, and then I did solutions and then rolled into this. So that instructor gave his students an assignment of recruiting. And so we did a second day with them and we basically did a lot of the same, we used the same techniques. Can you get through this at all, or is this the only slide that it's going to show you? Well, anyway, there are
just a Google sheet. Is there another slide deck?
Yeah, there's 4 or 5 sheets, but yeah, maybe I might have, I don't know, that might not be the right slide, but it's okay because I think, essentially what we ended up doing was we had a master sheet where I, organized students by neighborhood. And then we had a sheet where we compiled it all at the end. And we showed everybody, how many students recruited how many in which neighborhood and all of that. And I also had wanted to show you the color-coded map, but it's unfortunately on my desktop, so I can't really show you that. But I would say that, in thinking about what sort of lessons we learned out of this, I think that the key was student canvassing. And we found, in our town, a lot of times that students, youth in general, are listened to a lot more than us old fogies. And I know I'm probably right out of time here, so sorry.
No, I really would love the links, Moira. We can definitely share it. And the great thing about these solution sessions is they're monthly. So I want to welcome you back, Moira. And as Patrick suggested, It would be great if this group would meet again, because from now till next session, we really want to onboard as many folks. We really just marketed to our Forest Friday participants from a 2-week event ago. So this is kind of our soft launch, and our hope is that, that we continue to meet as a community to really get into the nitty-gritty of climate solutions. And I think also for myself, it's going to be great to actually try on the platform, and then we can talk about, anything that's coming up for us. And that's the point, is to share what's coming up and solve things together. So I just want to be conscious of time. We are going to close the session formally, but anyone who wants to stay on, please do. I want to thank you, Patrick and Moira, for sharing all your work. And I know this is labor of love, but also I'm personally inspired on taking what I learned today to support my community. And anyone else want to give appreciations out loud or in the chat?
2 appreciations, I guess. One for Patrick. It was nice being walked back through the app again. It had been a while since I had logged myself in, and then it was nice just to kind of see, what I had been doing, and then also seeing the app changes. Because when I first went in, I was like, oh, I feel really good because I'm doing all of these things. But like there wasn't really a way to make that happen. And now there's that easy kind of click button. I'm already doing this. So I really appreciate the changes in there and the reflection, be like, oh, it is time. What am I going to do for those 3 that I can take action on and actually take the conversation outside my own head? And then secondly, to Moira, I just thinking about Piedmont, it's there's a lot of people who are already in, are probably ready to turn, but the student voices and 300 households, and that's a lot of talking and making happen, a lot of action and getting people to take those next steps, right? Even just our time on the computer today, getting on the app and going through it, then that kind of sparking to the next level. That's a lot of community involvement. And even though it was, you were saying, right before COVID times, to make that happen. And I can't wait to see where those high schoolers are going to end up. That's why it's so exciting to see everyone here on the panel, right? You just never know what people are going to do when you get involved in a group like that. So kudos, thank you.
Just appreciate everyone for coming today, Moira and Patrick. And I think this is an excellent start to the conversation, and we have some good action steps, and just sharing that we're here to support, reach out with questions or new ideas and bring them next month, or just email us before. Yeah.
I did have a quick question for Moira. This is Luciano. Thank you for the overview. It's more around kind of a question I put in the chat. I'm not sure, you talked about greenhouse gas, but I was wondering on how you're calculating that, because I guess in my world with food waste, it's diversion from landfill, and the assumption is that when it goes into landfill, eventually turns in greenhouse gas. So are you aware of, or how do you kind of do that calculation on diversion, or are you doing that? Like, how were you kind of doing the calculations in that particular initiative, or what was the idea behind that?
So the platform does that. That's actually our site on our site is called Piedmont Climate Challenge, and you're welcome to take a look at it. We actually looked at Fremont's a lot before we rolled ours out, and it was really helpful. And but I would also say that our city has had to do this and has done it, has wanted to do this for our CAP, for our climate action plan. Individually, no, I have not done this. We actually do have in Piedmont Connect, we have a woman who worked for the EPA doing this exact thing. So she actually can figure out the metrics on it. I myself don't know how to do it, but that is one real beautiful thing I think about the platform is that it does do some of this. I would also say though, I'm going to echo Janine because the changes have been phenomenal that I found on the website. When we first started using it, we found some challenges with it. And one of them was just what you were saying, that it's, Luciano, that it's difficult to figure out how you're going to calculate that for food waste, for instance. My understanding, and I'm going to let Patrick speak to this, is that there have been changes to the website or to the platform, and that over time, hopefully those sorts of things will be better captured.
Yeah, so on the site, you can access like how we measure everything, but it was also reviewed by Berkeley. They have a really great program on carbon calculators, and they gave us an A++. We have every single utility in the country in the back end and their specific carbon intensity and the cost of water for their specific users. So it's all very accurate, organized information. And yeah, we're always working to improve the site. So if you ever have any questions, this site it's not static. It's meant to continue to change as we build our mission out. And, we're launching a speaker series this fall, and we just revised our curriculum in August for our educators. So we're always improving our programs as well that go along with it.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Luciano, are you in Alameda County?
San Jose Conservation Corps.
Oh, perfect. Excellent.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, it's kind of a general question just because we work directly with Eastside Union High School District. And so we're kind of experimenting with on-site composting there locally at a school and or across the district, as well as on-site San Jose, and also with partners. Although we do waste management across landfill, recycling, and now food. We ran a pilot over the summer, and when we're going into production to scale out, we're kind of looking at how do we start to implement some metrics around being able to quantify things like that. And so that's kind of why I'm asking is definitely looking to leverage what exists already. And so I think thanks for signing this up, Patrick, because I'm going to play around with the tool. And I think there was a link in here about the the WARM model that looks like a good resource as well. So thank you for both those resources.
Yeah, I got plenty of questions. I don't want to make sure if you want to jump off, it is time. But yeah, Patrick, I was interested about scalability. Like, what's some of the smallest communities you've worked with? What's some of the largest communities worked with? And have you focused on specific communities, i.e. schools in particular? And is the website lending itself towards schools, or is there something that could be more specified for schools? You're on mute, bud.
So the way we operate is we partner with cities or counties or like big organizations like the Episcopal Church to run custom programs. But along with that, we also have the free site available for everyone. So it's available at the user base, and then we partner with some of these, bigger entities. But the way that the cities work, and that, through my work that we've worked with, is we work with every single kind of community, whether that's a book club or a neighborhood leader. We have a lot of school-based programs. We have a really good set of curriculum designed for grades 8 through 12. And we're building out some curriculum for younger learners. I can actually put the chat for our curriculum. We have like a 5-week challenge that the Girl Scouts have implemented. This amazing set of educators in Hawaii, on the island of Kauai, are running a semester-long course using our tool as a resource throughout the course. Oh, I just put the wrong, this is a 5-week challenge for the Girl Scouts that I just put in. But let me put in the curriculum that we have as well. And we're working in a roadmap to build out curriculum for early age educators as well. So that's something we've had some great educators take and adapt to their specific learning age, but we know how much different first grader can learn about versus second grader, and we don't really have, like hyper localized curriculum for different learning moments. And then we have a lot of like faith community programs and service, everything, basically custom programs for any kind of group.
Cool. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, some of the curriculum coming out of StopWaste might be something of your interest. Talking around compost, it's changed my life. So, but you're talking my language too with the curriculum stuff. Maura, I did also have a question about how many ambassadors did you enlist? I see that like the high school has about 800 students in the larger one in Piedmont, and I'm wondering what percentage you got to recruit like one person or something like that. If you have those metrics, I'm curious.
You know, I'm just going to open up the sheet that I was trying to send you. You know, I don't have it in front of me, but I believe there were about 12 total ambassadors. And they were from, as I said, you know, everything from the Scouts to, we tried sports teams even. This town is super sports related. I would say, and I'm Ange knows me. I always follow this, script of what I'm supposed to say. So I, of course, took all these notes and don't really have time to share them all, but I would really share, I think, a couple of the key takeaways for us as a community were that you can't just engage people once, especially with this particular platform, because people have to go back to it and they have to follow through on their goals and all that stuff. And what that means for you as the leader is that you have to be creative and figure out ways. We had the contest as our big incentive. Once the contest is over, it's not done. Our work ain't done, And so I think it's really being creative to figure out ways to keep the community engaged and following through. And I will say that one of the things is that in our case, we passed REACH codes, if folks are familiar with those. They're basically energy mandates in the building code. And I really feel that one of the reasons we were able to do that is that education around the climate challenge, that people got engaged somewhat, and enough that when that came around, we didn't have to do as much education. So in that case, I would just say that there's a lot of spinoffs from this that should be realized. And in whatever realm you're working, you should be connecting up with the city you're in for their climate action plan, because schools are part of that. Everybody's part of that. And whatever you can do to show that you're helping with that, your city will be behind you.
And maybe you can speak to this more. So I'm hearing that Piedmont has a little competitive edge to it, which I like. If I were to activate like another city in Alameda County, Berkeley, for example, to say Berkeley's done this, Piedmont, why can't you do this? Would that be something that would engage that community, or would you want a more nuanced and less kind of oppositional approach?
Yeah, I would hesitate about that. Why can't you do it? Because that sort of sets up that you're good, you're not sort of thing. But I think friendly competition, if you can figure out a friendly way to do that by saying, hey, like maybe the two cities want to try to do that. And I think it also really depends on your city. We did meet, and I never spoke to you about this, but we did meet with the sustainability manager in San Leandro. And at the time, this was about a year ago, they had opted at not really engaging too much on using the platform because of the way the city is. And it's apparently, one of the issues is that people are very community minded, collaborative minded, and there's somewhat of a sort of needs-based approach that needs to happen. And so coming in with something like this is not, first, we need to really be talking about some, Maslow's hierarchy, lower needs. So I think, that's another message, is to really look at your community or your school community, whatever your community is, to figure out where they're starting from and, not starting too high.
Okay, well, what a committed group of folks. What we're gonna do, Luciana, do you work with Monica? Okay, I'm gonna send you, if you could send me your email, I'll make sure you get the email Ban, or I'll give it to Monica for the follow-up notes, but there are definitely some great next steps in my head, and I'll reach out to you if there's anything else. But yeah, try on this month, for the next month, try on this platform, and what action, ask yourself what action you can do, and then see what comes up for you. It'd be great to share again, and see you all next month. Tomorrow is another incredible story of Cheyenne and Fona. We'll be sharing how they worked with SL 2050 and our recent creek cleanup here in San Leandro, where we really got into some deep intersectional, like really deep conversations regarding gentrification and community health and mental health and creek health and environmental health and our health. So again, thank you, Moira, Patrick, who's here, but thank you, Ariel, Ben, Fona, Christian, Cheyenne, Janine, Luciano. We can only, I just, if anything, we're not alone, right? That was what today is about, and let's move forward together. Thank you all. Have a great rest of the day, and hopefully we'll see you tomorrow.